Good afternoon, students. Today we are going to go to the library to work, so gather your things and we will head on down there. Remember the last lesson we worked on solving one-step subtraction equations. Now remember, an equation is a formula where one side of the equal sign is equal to another side of the equal sign with unknown values. Each side of the equal sign will have numbers and have at least one unknown value, which we call the variable. Now I'm going to give you a worksheet that has 8 problems on it. I want you to look at each problem and decide if it is an equation, and if it is, you will solve it. If it is not an equation, you will cross it out. I will tap my pencil on the table when I want you to respond. Remember, wait until you hear my pencil tap. So let's try to practice our signal, which is the pencil tap. What color is my pen? Good job. My pen is blue. So let's try one more. What is today? Good job. Today is Wednesday. Great job working with the pencil tap. Now let's begin. So let's look at the first problem. What does this problem say? Is this an equation? How do you know? So what do you have to do? So what operation is taking place? So what must you do? So what is negative 23 plus 23? Great job. So now what must you do? Good. So what is 72 plus 23? Good job. It is 95. So what is your answer? Yes, so x does equal 95. So now we have to check our answer. So we're going to rewrite the equation with 95 in place of x. Now that you've done that, is that true? Good job. So the answer is 95. Let's look at the next problem. What does it say? Is it an equation? And how do you know this? Correct. So we're going to cross out the problem and we will move on to the next. Now we have a few more problems to work through, and we will work through those together, and then we will move on to our new skill. Great job working through those problems with me. I can tell you guys did really good on the review. So now we're going to talk about the new skill. So today we're going to work on solving one-step multiplication problems. Remember, an equation is a formula where one side of the equal sign is equal to another side of the equal sign. Each side of the equal sign will have numbers. An unknown variable can be represented by any letter. Equations where there is one variable by itself and a number can be solved for the variable. Let's learn how to solve for an unknown in an equation with multiplication. Let's look at the first example of an equation. This is an equation because there are numbers on each side of the equal sign. To solve this, we need to figure out what k is equal to, and to do that we have to get it by itself. So first, we look to see what operation is happening. In this equation, the operation is that we are multiplying by 4. So to get k by itself, we have to do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing. So we will have to divide by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we are left with k on this side. Because each side is equal, what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So now we will divide by 4 on the other side. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. So we are left with 5 on this side. So our answer would be k equals 5. So now that we have the answer, we have to check it and make sure it's correct. So if we put 5 in place of k, it will now say 4 times 5 equals 20. That is true, so our answer is correct. Now let's look at the next problem we have. So this says 4b. This one is not an equation because there's not an equal sign, so we cannot solve for b. Since this is not an equation, We will cross out this problem and move on to the others. So now I have some more problems for us to work through together, and then we will move on to our guided practice 1. Great job working through those. So now we're on to our guided practice 1. So you're going to try some of these. I'm going to give you a worksheet that has 8 problems on it. I want you to look at each problem and decide if it is an equation. If it is, you will solve. If it is not an equation, you will cross it out. I will tap my pencil on the table when I want you to respond. Remember, wait until I tap my pencil. So let's just try an example so we can get back into our pencil tap and what it sounds like. So what color is my shirt? Yes, my shirt is black. Let's try one more. What color is my pen? Yes, my pen is yellow. Now let's begin. Let's look at the first problem. What does this problem say? Yes, is it an equation? And how do you know that it is an equation? So what do you have to do? Good, so what operation is taking place? Good, so what must you do? Okay, so what is 2 divided by 2? Okay, good job. So now what do you have to do? And what is 12 divided by 2? So what is your answer? Good job. So now we have to check our answer. So I want you to rewrite the equation with 6 in the place of k. Is that true? Good job. So the answer is 6. So let's look at the next problem and see what it says. So what does it say? Is it an equation? And how do you know this? Correct. So we're going to cross out the problem and move on to the next. So now we have a few more problems that we're going to work through together, and then we will move on to our guided practice 2, which is where you will be working with your peer. Great job working through those. So now you will practice with a peer. Look at these 2 baggies that I have. Student 1 will draw a card from the baggie 1 that the other student is holding. Student 1 will read the card. Student 1 will then say if the problem is an equation or not. Student 1 will then state the answer to the problem if it is an equation, and if not, this step will not be needed. If student 1 comes across a problem that is not an equation, the student will then state that it is not an equation and will explain why. Once you have worked through the first baggie, there will be another one and you will switch roles. So now you may begin working with your partner. Great job working with your partner. So now I want you to try some all on your own. I'm going to give you a worksheet with 10 problems on it. I want you to look at each problem and decide if it is an equation. If it is, you will solve it. If it is not, you will cross it out. Once I give you your worksheet, you may begin. Great job working through that on your own. So now let's do a little review of what we went over today. So we learned that an equation has numbers on both sides of the equal sign, and it has at least one unknown value of x, or it can be any other letter. So, is 10x equals 20 an equation? Yes, it is. And how do you know this? Yes, we know that 10x equals 20 is an equation because each side has numbers and there is an unknown value of x. So, is 4 times 3 an equation? No. And how do we know that it's not? Yes, because there are not numbers on each side of the equal sign and there is no unknown value. So great job. That is all we're going to do today. And you can go back to your class. But for your related practice task, you'll get on your iExcel account and work through some more problems. And then for another activity, you will also get on your iExcel account and work on one-step multiplication problem. So I hope that you had a great time working through this today. You did so good, and I can't wait to work with you again. Bye!